school of thoughts was saying that at a 40% rate, more than 600 million people will be in the urban place. And the kind of ratio which is there today, it is like two-thirds is rural, one-third is urban, but this ratio is going to change dramatically. And that's also the area. So with people going from rural area to urban area, this equation will change. The dynamics are going to change. So how do you see this entire CSR activity dynamics getting married to that particular concept?
Two, three levels at which this question can be taken. One important thing will be, how do you make migration safe? I look at this, each of your from an equity lens. So when you move for a job in Pune, you are not a migrant in that sense. When we are looking at the village to small town or medium town or a big town migration, one is making migration safe. There is a scope and there are people working on it of how to have inter-state where the migrants get their entitlements and migrants are safe. Take a clear example of the Telangana state's policy. So that's where you can chip in. So that's something where you are looking at the source and the destination. That's one. Second would be the more worrying consequences is when the kind of a depletion takes place. कहाँ से शहर कौन जाएगा? Not the 80-year-old person, not the 4-year-old child. अब ये जो working आपकी population है वो वहाँ जाएगी. But luckily there also we have, due to the demographic dividend, we can afford that. The idea is, how do you make the life of the people who stay back more? Better in terms of its quality, which is again the CSR in the rural area. This might explain. So when you talk in terms of this urbanization also has to be looked at in three contexts: the small towns, the million-plus cities, and the metros, the mega cities. There again you can bring in co-funding or synergy. I was Narega Award Committee Chairman. बांसवाड़ा, उदयपुर, वहाँ जब जाएंगे तो वहाँ एक बहुत इंटरेस्टिंग फ्रेज है, जिंदाबाद, मैट्रिक फेल तो अहमदाबाद. Now I asked them कि मैट्रिक फेल तो मैट्रिक फेल होने से चले जाते हैं. गुजरात के शहर में 480 रुपए दिहाड़ी मिलती है, 500 रुपए दिहाड़ी मिलती है. यहाँ पर तो ऐसे मैट्रिक फेल लड़कियाँ जाती हैं क्या? नहीं, लड़कियाँ नहीं जाती. बट देयर आर मेनी वुमेन हु टोल्ड मी कि अगर हमको नरेगा का काम गांव के पास मिल जाता है, 250 रुपए साहब चलते हैं, वो मर्द चला जाता है 550 रुपए कमाने के लिए. वी फाइंड इट much more acceptable as a solution. वहाँ वो one-upmanship नहीं रहती है कि मेरी सैलरी तेरी सैलरी से ज़्यादा क्यों नहीं है. So I think if you look at it deeply from an equity lens, there are interventions which you can do, both in terms of the social intervention and also technology intervention, where this problem will be addressed. And at this urbanization, देखिए urbanization बंदे जाएंगे, जमीन नहीं जाएगी. आपकी रूरल एरिया वही रहने वाला है. क्या आपकी अर्बन एरिया का जो फिजिकल एरिया इंक्रीज है वो कोई उतनी तो चीज नहीं है. सो इफ यू कीप दिस थिंग इन माइंड एंड ब्रिंग द इक्विटी एंड कन्वीनियंस लेंस, एंड विच इज वेयर आई थिंक दिस मूव टुवर्ड्स क्वालिटी ऑफ लाइफ. Migration, if it is safe, I think is not a bad thing. You have to make migration safe. And if you want to go more theoretically into it, you look at your entitlement framework, pre and post migration. If your post migration entitlement framework is greater than equal to your pre-entitled job. But sorry, I don't want to get into that.
No, I think you have touched upon that point, sir. You have touched upon rightly. That one thing is that the urban areas are increasing. So with that, lifestyle is changing, requirements, need is also changing. And same is the case with CSR activities as well. The priorities and the commitments will also be changing. So with that, my next question to Dr. Chatterjee. Sir, we just looked into one survey, some typical survey of some 300 listed companies. I'm audible, sir? So, yeah, we understand that, sir, you have few slides to share as well. So, the first question, the typical question which I'll have here is that for 300 listed company, we have looked at the kind of share in, their overall CSR fund share, where it's going. We get able to see that out of some 1200 to 12,260 crore or some 7,480 projects. I mean, I'm just giving some data points. The main point which I'm trying to arrive is that hunger, poverty, malnutrition, healthcare, and sanitation share was around 35.87%, whereas education, vocational skills had some 25% odd shares, and rural development had merely 8.89% share for the top 300 listed companies I'm talking about. So when I relate the concept, I think you covered the overall policy aspects brilliantly. So just trying to relate that particular point with the kind of commitment which the companies today should give. How do you see this particular thing, that rural development share is merely 8.89%?
So I'll just take this question in two parts. One, of course, is this question because rural development is actually such a broad-based concept that many aspects of rural development get covered in other things. So much of the health work done, or much of the roads and buildings and stuff, they are classified under other heads.
Basically,
so rural development is sort of not classified as such. The topic that is before us today is really how do you build a positive image of the company?
Absolutely.
Right?
Yeah.
You can do this in two ways. One is you do good work, good quality CSR, people perceive it, and their perception of the company that it is a good company. This is one thing. And you can do this endlessly, not much will change. Because you have a captive audience, you're working within a 25-kilometer radius, those are the only people who are seeing what is happening in your CSR. To me, that is a very limited. You have to go far beyond as to what you can do to increase the brand, the image. Whole India may be spending 500 crores, but there are companies spending 30 crores, 40 crores, whose brand image is far. Take Mahindra Foundation, spends a pitiable amount. Take Capgemini, spends a pitiable amount. Take Tech Mahindra, spends a pitiable amount. And I'm giving you these names because very often I've worked with these companies. And Nirupama was rightly saying this. Today's day and age with Gen Z, and I'm sure that now they're breeding Gen Alpha, is a time when all of this is passé, it's gone. What you see is what you believe. What do they see? Social media. So what we have done in Vedanta, but I want to just take 5 minutes. In the same floor in which I sit in Statesman House in Connaught Place, we have integrated corporate communication and CSR on one floor. The corporate communication and the CSR heads speak to each other every day. And the buzzword for us is amplification. कुछ भी करो, अगर वो amplify नहीं किया तो आपका काम complete नहीं. For every CSR project, we have attached a media budget. Get my point? Every CSR project, a component of the media is included in the budget itself. That part of the budget is given to CSR communication so that they can spread it far and wide through very active involvement in social media. And we have companies which are now giving us third-party evaluation of how good we are in our CSR communication. Get the point?
Yep.
What we are doing is we are engaging some of the best companies like, let's say, McCann, headed by Prasoon Joshi, who's developing our content for social media. I mean, the kind of value, the kind of importance we give to communication in CSR is incredible. And that is why our whole idea is to build the image of the company, build the image of the chairman, in people's perception. We are a mines and metal company. We know that we are doing harm to the environment. Who is not? But how do you project that image in such a way that Gen Z, future Gen Alpha, Gen Y, all of them get to see us as that company which is wonderful in what we call give back. What are we giving back to society? I'll give you 2 slides. If you just take this slide forward. Go to the next one, please. And the next one. Stop. This is the International Year of the Millet. Modi ji is speaking of it at every forum that he goes to. We are doing nutrition in our Nankars, Anganwadis. What can we do? This is innovation. What can we do as an innovation that will be low cost and yet tremendous impact? We see the governor of UP. The lady to the side, on the other side, is Priya Agarwal. जहाँ से जा रहा है ट्वीट वो मोदी जी को पढ़ाइए. Now see what kind of big bang we create out of each event. And we have hit this across literally hundreds of millions of views on our social. One more slide. What is this millet? One more forward. Stop. Yeah. This is all the millet bar is. It's a 5 rupee bar. And it is coming in 3 grams. And we're giving it in our Anganwadis as a food supplement to the normal meal which is served by the government. But this is the differentiator, because this contributes to that plus positive where the missing link is between total nutrition and part. And we have projected this across the complete platform. We're going to flood all the Anganwadis of UP, now with Rajasthan, wherever our target students are, and we're going to amplify this across every platform. Now, what have we done? All we've done is we've linked it to a program which Modi ji is saying everywhere, which for government is very important. And we're using government functionaries themselves to help us project this. And we are ramping it across the best companies, media companies, which help us create. So I wanted to stop here and answer your question. I learned from government how bad our projection can be. इतने गंदे हैं, DADP, my God, क्यों वो संस्था बनी, भगवान भी ना जाने, और क्यों वो जीवित है, भगवान जाने. What I'm saying is that that's a trap into which we fall. Sophisticated communication that reaches Gen Z, what we want. And if you have a good corporate communication wing, and I'm sure you do, connect CSR to that, so that we'll get that powerful cocktail which will deliver the knockout.
Brilliant idea. Absolutely brilliant idea. No, I think you're absolutely right, sir. Even the logo, I think they were having some orange logo earlier. Now it's a green logo. So goes with the overall budget theme, Saptarishi theme of go green, green growth and all. So wonderful. I think that's very well captured, sir. So with that, my next question to Mr. Panda. Sir, our CMD mentioned in the morning that to have a positive impact, you need to have a CSR positive impact. You need to look at what are the impactful kind of projects which you can take up and sustainable project. I think that's also one point which Professor Agnihotri and Dr. Chatterjee, they were also mentioning in the morning. So how do you relate the points which you mentioned in terms of ESG and the CSR activities together with these two impact or these two objectives of Coal India to drive it further?
Thank you. Before that, let me come to the same questions for 30 seconds on Gen Z, because last year I did a study of almost 1100 ITians, those who are in 3rd, 4th year and trying to choose for a career job going ahead. 52.3% told, is on record, that they'll prefer a organization which is perceived as green. Perceived as green, and this include student from ISM Dhanbad. This includes. So they were ready to go away from businesses which are far away from beyond mining kind of operations. Or even if they are, it has to be MNC so that as a green element, like ma'am was talking about, can we optimize some of the sustainability initiative in our process itself? Because going away with coal is not possible for India as a country as on today. Coming back to your question of how do you bring those elements into it is, you have to put lot of energy on. There are different theory of development changes in all. Like we all know about Abhid Banerjee theory on how we can change ultra poor group of families to a bench above, a live above. It's possible. It has been done in the same process on ultra poor elevations process. In Jharkhand last year, I was also part of this. If you all know about Nudge Foundation, Nudge Institute. What they did in, they've gone to Asansol district, 13 Asansol district of Jharkhand, selected almost 3,000 ultra poor families led by women. On a year time, on document, government of Jharkhand certified them they are beyond BPL. It took 1.5 year lifetime. So we need not to constantly fund same project year in year. One of the perception why CSR Act says year of commencement for 3 years, then get rid of project and go to some other project. Because country like India with 140 crores, we cannot put, Telia Mundra Tela, like sir was talking about, continuously for ages. There are enough people on the queue to be served. Second, on those lines, we need to constantly innovate through incubation processes. We have very strong process in this country, and special thanks to ITs in India across, whether it is IT Kharagpur, Madras, Mumbai, Delhi, Kanpur these days, and they are coming out a lot of innovations, innovative stuff, which are directly proportional to the requirement that is coming from the Gen Z. Who is going to fund that? Somebody has to come pitch, and like Agnitri sir was saying, post innovation when it crosses stage 1, 2, 3, time to go market, and market only put money if they see a profitability, and before there is a gestation period of 2 to 5 years roughly. Nobody is there to fund this. I know about Bikash Jha Sabji Cooler when he came to Sundargarh with sir request and started working. He was literally moving from collector office to secretariat and not getting a small space. You know what is the cost of each Sabji Cooler? 35,000, 40,000. That's it. Person I connected with some other fund and started moving in some other area, and then collector started coming, seeing and saying, okay, we'll also put some money. So in those period, CSR need to very innovatively, impactfully work on this area to find out where to put that money so that our next leap of CSR is on a different platform altogether. 10 years down the line, we are still struggling with compliance. CSR as a compliance. 90% of the private PSUs are, January आते आते नींद उड़ जाती है. पैसे कैसे करने, बोर्ड को क्या आंसर देना है. It is literally people are going through those route, and this is way second. And second thought on those lines is, can we start putting tech equity, technology and equity as cross-cutting across whatever you do. Forget about CSR, beyond CSR. And third one could be, when you do CSR, always be aligned to environment as a climate change risks that we foresee. We all have read IPCC 2023 latest update also. If not, we, even if we are in CSR, must read. By virtue of that, at least we will not end up taking a negative call with respect to environment, and it's very positive with respect to socially being correct. So these 2-3 things need to very consciously dovetail into our daily program process, before that on decision making processes. Thank you.
Good actionable point, sir. So with that, I have one question which is basically for all three of you experts. I mean, slightly debatable, but would definitely like to hear, especially Dr. Chatterjee from you. Should we look at CSR for as 2%?
2013, 4 years, this 2% was revealed. The idea, since I know the origins of that, the idea was that what is it that we should ask a corporate to do? One is you can leave it to the corporate. What are the options? Idea is, should CSR be done by corporates? Yes or no? And if you say no, you can leave. Satish spoke this morning about Mr. Porter, Dr. Porter, and in that 2006 article, the concept of shared value was discussed, where the idea was to link the community work or work for society with the business goals of the company. Michael Porter never talked about, percentage of profits. Percentage of profits was my brainchild. And my idea was that companies who are profitable, the first task of a company is to become profitable. If you are not profitable, you are not going to have money to service the society, right? So we conceived of this as an idea where companies above a certain level of profits, not if you're making a 2 rupee profit or a 100 rupee profit, you don't want to do much with the community. So the threshold of profits was brought in. That's one. Having 5 crores of average profit, what can you do with that profit? Should you, in your conscience, do something for that very society from which you are earning those profits, right? So again, he spoke of 4 motivations for CSR. One, of course, was the moral one, the other 3 ones. And all of those do come in. And the conclusion, therefore, was yes, profit-making companies should do CSR. Okay, how much? So should it be 1%, 2%, 3%, 4%? What should it be? And we discussed this over many round tables with many CMEs and so on. And we arrived at roughly somewhere between, say, 1.5 to 2.5 seemed at the time like a good decision to take, and we put it down and do this. Now, it has stood the test of time. 2% is not something that is now widely debated. Nobody's saying bring it down to 1.5. Nobody's saying bring it up to 2.5. When I said 2%, the Tatas were the first one to come in there. 2% क्या? अरे हम तो 3.5-4% का. मैंने कहा ला तेरे project लाओ मेरे साथ. I analyzed only 10 projects and realized that their actual expenditure was 1.8% only. Rest was all window dressing, even Tatas. They were the first one to sir हम तो employees के लिए करते हैं. हाँ सर हम तो इस तरह का करते हैं. मैंने कहा ये तो qualify नहीं कर रहा हमारी CSR. तब पता चला कि टाटा जैसी कंपनियां जो हमारी हैं वो भी स्ट्रेटेजिक CSR में 2% का स्पेंडिंग नहीं दिखा रहा है. But आज how much pride we feel we are sitting here in Poland and spend more than we put it in.
And absolutely. And in fact, the reason I was asking this question, I think you brilliantly answered it, sir. The reason I was asking this question is some of the global companies like BHP, Rio, Vale, whom we as Coal India can relate in the mining fraternity, they report in revenue terms, and typically the kind of structure they have, they don't talk in profit. It's just like paying salary. If I'm paying salary, I need to do CSR activities as well. It's as mandated as like that.
Why do they not do that?
I mean, definitely I don't have the answer to that, sir.
Because if they did, what would happen? ये जो positive image लिखा है ना, एकदम negative हो रहा है.
Yeah.
अगर वो revenue earning में बोलते हैं so many millions we have spent, अब वो क्या है? Profit का 0.0001. अब जैसे CMD चढ़ा स्टेज पे, profit क्या है? फलाना. आपने क्या किया है सोसाइटी के लिए? $1 billion. अरे प्रॉफिट का क्या शेयर है? 0.001. उसको तो टक्का कर देंगे उस एमडी को. He can't show his face. That's why the trick is show large numbers, but don't reveal how much profit you're taking home and how much is invested.
No, brilliant. Absolutely. Thanks a lot, sir. So, yeah, sure, ma'am.
Sir, just to add to what Dr. Bhaskar Chatterjee said, because this was debated a lot. Believe me, I was in the Ministry of Corporate Affairs that time, when Sir Mukhyamantri ji IAC. So there was a lot of debate. कि 2% percentage करना चाहिए कि नहीं. But as he would say, corporates को समझ में आता है एक simple rule. But at the same time, I also want to, especially for Gen Z who are not familiar with National Voluntary Guidelines of Business, I request you to please do a Google search. That's a much larger framework. So I would again say CSR should not be looked just in isolation. 2% profit तो एक guideline है आपके लिए. Just to guide and nudge you कि इतना खर्च कर लीजिए कम से कम. But your larger responsibility as a business, economic, social, and environmental responsibilities are to me sacrosanct. I think that is the contract every business has to have with society, which ties in very well with what Gandhiji has said, or which all the CSR, ESG experts have said, who understands why sustainability. Sustainability ऐसे हवा में से नहीं आया है. Sustainability का एक कारण है ना. You can't keep exploiting your resources and then not worry about the future, right? Especially an industry like mining, right? So your CMD say, I said in the morning, is it पाप पुण्य? हाँ, अगर आपने पाप किया तो सोचिए ना, सोचिए उस बारे में. कोयला निकालना पाप नहीं, हमारे पेड़ काटना तो पाप है, सबको पता है. It's not easy to do afforestation, believe me, and I have seen really foolish projects of afforestation which don't even consider the kind of vegetation that is native to that place. You blindly bring in plants and trees which are not native to that region. They'll just suck up all the water from the water table and you have a disaster on your hands. So cutting trees obviously mindlessly should be avoided. So what you have to think is a larger issue, that are we on the right development path? Secondly, since we had started with branding, but then we didn't talk about that enough. 2 years back when I joined, I directly don't look after CSR in Ministry of Coal. But as an outsider, it's always good because you can talk plain and nobody can say anything to you. So I had to start by saying that your corporate communication is terrible. I told Coal India this, and it was. Because it's typical PSU mindset क्या होता है, and we all know कि एक VVIP आते हैं तो everywhere the photo is only of the VVIP cutting a ribbon or giving a bouquet, etc. The focus is not on the lovely work you might have done, which might have really uplifted somebody in need or helped. You have an excellent thalassemia project, right? I mean, look at the kind of things corporates have done. Fortunately for me, I also have another perspective because I'm on two companies where government is a stakeholder of Vedanta Group, Balco and HZL, Hindustan Zinc. The very first visit in Hindustan Zinc I went, I saw their CSR, which was not just, really credible, but the kind of social media reach they have. Immediately the focus I went and met the first lady miners who are actually working underground. That makes for such a positive story. Inclusivity, gender participation, and of course sustainable practices, use of technology. The kind of imaging, the messaging they have is brilliant. And Dr. Chatterjee just gave an example. Imagine catching on to millets and what brilliant positioning you have done. You have got so many likes and retweets on that tweet. Whereas हम लोग क्या करेंगे? हम डालेंगे, again, I'm sorry I'm saying this very plainly, but just one VVIP coming, inaugurating, that will cover all your social media. And that's not what Gen Z wants. Or anybody wants, the community. As an Indian, why am I interested some VVIP is coming and cutting a ribbon? I don't want to see that. I shouldn't want to see that. So last 2 years, I must say, a lot of professionalism has done in Coal India. Good teams have been hired, good social media teams have been hired, and I had to tell them because luckily again I had that experience of INV, and like Dr. Chatterjee said, we have had terrible ads. We have come a long way from those newsreels of films division which used to play before the film, right? Today PM iska daura karke aaye and these are the giants of industry, yahan koila bana. You can't have that anymore. You need small bites. The attention span of a millennial is 30 seconds. So now Coal India has started making really nice films, professionally made, with very good photography. You have drones, come on, use them. And they have done it. They have done, drone photography of plantations. It looks beautiful, all the reclaimed lands, the abandoned mines. That's what you need to see, not just, and of course CSR spend. If you've done work in COVID, for heaven's sake, share it with people. People people don't even know outside these areas, how much work Coal India has done. They're just not aware, believe me. And if Vedanta is there, even one small, oxygen plant they've set up, everybody will know. Trust me. That's the difference in communication.
No, let's hear from Coal India and
I'll
Dr.
just
Ranjan.
quickly want to mention one small item regarding branding for CSR.
Sir.
So in Bhubaneswar airport for the last 2 years we have put a hoarding which has a part of CSR and part of mining, and the caption given is "Smiles to a million, energy security to a billion."
Ranjan sir, you wanted to add something, and then Professor Agnihotri, you also wanted to add certain things. Yes, Professor Agnihotri.
पहले आप rightly said, ma'am, we as a coal mining company, we had to fight doubly hard to create a perception among people that Coal India do a CSR, and also engaged our PR firm who is also helping us
अभी
in
मीटिंग में बात
building our image.
कीजिएगा.
And we are
Like
trying
that,
to say that our social media reach went to our target audience, where we want to reach in terms of social media. And every day there is a social media post from all the subsidiary handle. And most of the subsidiaries, if you take Twitter handle, they have sizable number of who follows followers, sizable number of followers, and there are some negative comments, but we are not bothered about negative comments. My fundamental mantra to the team members is to fight the negative comments. You put more and more positive, stories. So we are working towards that, and hopefully the result will come.
Excellent. Professor Agnihotri.
I'll start with the thalassemia example which Darbhanga gave, because I had a small role in it. The dilemma that came up before us was, in fact, I had suggested 2 types of advertisements. एक ad में मैंने कहा सीधा संजय दत्त, उसका कोई जाएगा वो बोलेगा थैलेसेमिया बोले तो कोल इंडिया. ऐसे 10 सेकंड का ad IPL में डालो. Just one. Second is much more sober. You see, we are humbled by the opportunity to have help X number, वो 250 हो सकता है, 100 हो सकता है, children who have got cured for life. We also produce coal for the country. And taking it a step further, my dream was that all people, हमारे यहाँ हम लोगों ने as part of सितारा सेमिनार वो एलिफेंट विस्पर्स वाली डॉक्यूमेंट्री स्क्रीन की थी. वही जेन्स है उसी हॉल में entire screening, absolute sannata. They did appreciate it.